life. So it's kind of a really funny thing, right? You go through happiness, you go through sadness, you go through dark times, hard times, joyful times. And at the end of the day, sometimes you wonder, what is this life even about? And sometimes it gets so bad, you wonder, do I even want this life anymore? That's what we're going to talk about this week on The Positivity Experience in episode 58, Evaluating Your Purpose. Check it out. Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 58 of The Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori. I'm super happy you're here. It's actually Super Bowl weekend. Go Bengals. And it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. So, oh boy, sometimes Valentine's Day can cause an increased amount of sadness. Sometimes it can be joyful, sometimes it can be sad, right? And sometimes those sadnesses can go really deep. And we are going to talk a little bit about that. It's going to get a little deep today. But I did want to read to you, with their permission, a beautiful email that I received from Muhammad. And it's just such a great email that I just wanted you to hear it because it is going to be very relevant. And actually, he's driving the topic. Hi, Muhammad. He's driving the topic, actually, for this week's podcast. So I'm going to read this to you. It's going to be, a little bit long, but not too long. Hey there, Lori. I hope this won't be too long, but I just wanted to write this message of appreciation to you. I'm absolutely fangirling right now as I write this to you. My name is Muhammad. I'm a 20-year-old gay Egyptian Arab man who lives on an island in the Middle East called Bahrain. I'm a medical student, and I'm currently on a healing and self-love journey. Back in December of 2021, I was scrolling through your TikTok, and your TikTok on stop over-explaining yourself and how you don't need to know other people's why came up on my For You page. And let me just say, the way that you spoke about it spoke volumes to me. The way you explained it was so concise, comprehensive, and instantly resonated with me. I immediately followed your TikTok account. I watched a few more videos, specifically on the ones under the personal development playlist, and literally everything you talk about just makes sense to me and is everything I need help with. I've been seeing a therapist since October 2021, which is when I decided that I officially needed to start healing for myself. I struggle with a lot of anxiety and at times depressive phases, and it just took over my life. I needed to learn how to stop trying to be in control, how to set my boundaries, how to stop my obsessive overthinking of the past and future, and how to live more in the present, who I am, and how to love myself more, to stop trying to be perfect, to stop my black and white thinking, to let go of the past, and the list goes on. This was so detrimental to my state of mind daily. I'm a very self-aware person, so when this became too much to handle, and when I noticed how it was starting to affect my daily life, that's when I decided I needed help to change. It's like I was meant to see your TikTok in order for it to lead me to your podcast. It's thanks to the Positivity Experience podcast that I'm able to guide myself and my thoughts into becoming a better person for myself and those around me. In the past 2 months, I have already listened to 25 episodes whenever I get time, and I'd even make time in my day for it. I believe that the reason your words resonate with me so much is that you're very knowledgeable and super straightforward. Boy, oh boy, am I. I admire how you say things without sugarcoating them and that you don't bullshit your listeners. I told my therapist about you and your podcast and even shared your podcast with my friends who I want to help grow into better people. Friends who are willing to listen and interested in self-help. In the most recent session with my therapist, she told me that she was proud of all of the progress I was making by myself and how quickly I was making progress. But I must thank you. You're a lot of the reasons as to why I'm doing really well. You taught me so much in a short period of time. The best lessons that I have learned from you so far is why I should stay present and be mindful, how forgiving others and letting go without an apology or validation is always for me, how nothing grows in the comfort zone, and doing things while you're scared, not needing to know other people's whys and vice versa, that you must know who you are to love yourself, why microgoaling is important and why it works, what trauma responses are, how motivation is mostly bullshit, facts, and mainly just an excuse, how manifestation works, the beauty of acceptance and how important it is, why the all or nothing thinking is a dangerous way to think, how important daily gratitude is, and of course, having the 5 journals. Yes. All of these lessons have been completely resonating with me, and I'll carry them with me while I continue to heal and grow, as well as in the many more lessons that I'll be learning from you and the world along the way. Not gonna lie, I used to think journaling was complete bullshit, as most of you do out there. Now I've been doing it for a week and I already feel significantly happier because my mind feels freer and less cluttered. than I'm usually used to. Journaling really does help with self-reflection. I love the gratitude journal the most. But all of them have their own importance, honestly. And again, I'm just so thankful to have coincidentally come across you and your content. I'm absolutely grateful and blessed. I genuinely believe that we are friends, we are besties, and that I've known you for ages just by listening to your podcast. I feel like you're talking directly to me and helping me personally, which is absolutely amazing. Mind you, I never even used to listen to podcasts at all, but yours completely changed my mind. And you definitely have enlightened me, and I can't thank you enough. I fucking love you, and I appreciate you immensely. Your help is changing me more ways than words can describe. You are literally saving me. I have so much more work to do on myself, and I'm taking it a day at a time. As you said, healing is a daily practice, and I'm starting to understand that now. It's definitely not easy, but going through it is definitely worth it. Just like you said, you choose your comfort level. You either stay living in your comfortable discomfort, or you do it while uncomfortable and scared. You inspire me daily. I thank you for everything once more. Your biggest supporter, Muhammad. And Muhammad, I did reply to him. And Muhammad, if you didn't get it still, let me know. But I did reply to him, and I am just so grateful that he is able to start working on that for himself. Because remember, I'm just Glinda the Good Witch. I'm like Siri, but I promise you I'm not going to drive you into the woods. Well, I might if your woods are like a scary thing for you, then yeah, I will. But there's so much about this. You know, the fact that he's a medical student, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to be an amazing, doing whatever he's going to do, he's going to be amazing in. And this really made me want to really focus on the topic of the struggles that we kind of face, right? Because there's a little bit of Muhammad in all of us, right? You know, and Muhammad's amazing. And that's why I felt it was really important, because especially this time of the year, sometimes around holidays, right? Even Valentine's Day. And Valentine's Day to me is kind of a bullshit holiday, because if you love people, you should always love them. And you shouldn't need a special day to show them. But I feel like it's very much commercialized. Like, hey, if you love your partner, go buy a 64-carat diamond ring to show exactly how much you love them. So I really feel it's very commercialized. We don't really do things here. I might get some candy for them or whatever. But you know what? If I love you, I'm going to love you anyway. But the dark times, I want to go back to some things that, like Muhammad had said, and really any topic that we've covered in the podcast. These are all the strangest part of life, right? Think about this. We're just a spiritual being having a human experience. And a lot of times we make things out to be really big deals because you're in them, right? If you're in a situation, it is the biggest deal to you. However, it's a very much a tiny, tiny microcosm of what's going on in the world, but it's hard for you to see that because you're in it. Right? So if you're in a bad relationship with someone, all you can think about is how miserable you are. If you are not doing good in college and you're not really sure who you want to be when you grow up, it can feel overwhelming. Like, oh my God, I'm supposed to know who I am. But okay, nobody truly is going to know exactly who they are until they start working on this every day. And, and just like he referenced, it's a daily practice. But as somebody who's been in that dark phase where it's like, I don't know, it's just too much. I don't even know if it's even worth it. When I was younger, it's just such a heavy burden sometimes to be like, I should go brush my teeth. And you think you might as well ask me to climb the Empire State Building because I don't feel like doing that either. And that's where we have to be really careful. Of course, medicine helps, therapy, life coaching, daily practice, journaling, all of those things are valid. But at the end of the day, it's also about you taking the initiative to say, you know what? I think I'm just going to get up from the bed and I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm just going to stand there for a minute. And here's a little trick on the days that you're feeling really bad. Okay. I want you to say, okay, those days that you're like, I just can't get out of bed. I just want you to say, okay, I'm going to get up. I'm going to go stand by a window. It's great if it's sunny. It doesn't have to be sunny, just daylight. And I want you to go over to that window. I want you to take a super deep breath, right? And then when you look out of the window, I want you to go above the horizon. So take your eyes, put them in where the horizon, like where the land and sky meet. And I want you to look there and I want you to look up, like raise your head. Like, haven't you ever seen somebody? As a matter of fact, I saw I don't think it was a meme, and I don't know where. I think I saw it on YouTube, maybe, but it's a clip where somebody was playing basketball. I think it was high school or maybe college, and they missed a shot or something happened. And as they were walking down the court, like their head was down, and their teammate came up beside them, took their chin, lifted it up, like we don't do that. We keep our head high, and there is truth to that. I mean, if you're walking or running, definitely pay attention to your surroundings. Keep your head on a swivel. But at the end of the day, when you start getting so down on yourself, like, oh my God, why am I so fat? Why am I so skinny? Why am I so short? Why am I so tall? I'm not tan enough. I'm too pale. Whatever. My hair's not straight enough. Whatever it is that you find yourself holding on to, that's the part of you I want you to give gratitude to. Okay, so let's say you've started the same project 16 times and you get going. And in my case, my ADHD goes, where does this button go? Oh, it goes in this room. And then I've now have 16 projects going because I have little projects in every room, which I am working on. And when I get to a good space of that, I'll be able to share that with you as like a program. Yeah, I'm not there yet. So it's not even worth talking about. But it is something, however, that is worth talking about, that on the days that sometimes you don't even want to be here, it isn't that you don't want to be here. I mean, it really isn't that, honestly. It is sometimes so overwhelming that you can't even connect to what your feelings really are. And sometimes it's like you're just disassociated. You just kind of feel like you're going through life, but with a super heavy blanket on. So think of like a really big, heavy weighted blanket. And it just seems like, oh my God, is this even worth it? Like, I can't, what? Like, it's just so much. And it feels exhausting. And that's where gratitude, patience, and kindness to yourself will come in play. Because at the end of the day, some of the things that we think are big deals to us because it's something that we're experiencing, regardless of what it is a big deal, right? You acknowledge it, you feel it, you address it. But at the same token, remember, everything that's happening to you right now really won't matter 5 years from now. I mean, it really won't. You know, I mean, because each part of your life is a growth cycle. You're going to screw up. People are going to misunderstand you. Those things will happen. So what you have to do is not misunderstand yourself. Stand in your truth, regardless of what that truth is, regardless of what somebody else likes about it or doesn't, and allow yourself to feel your feelings, process them. But don't think that you have to have your life together overnight. It's funny, and I think I've said this to you guys before, because I'll be 51 in April. But turning 30 was definitely my hardest time. 40 was fine, 50 was fine. I'm hoping 60, 70, 80. I hope I live to be 400, but you know. But 30 was hard, and I think because growing up, there was a show on called 30-something. This will only make sense if you're like older, like me. But there was a show on called 30-something. And these people looked old as hell. They looked old. These people looked old. But it looked like they had their stuff together. People were working. They had careers. They were married. They had family. You know, like really looked like they had it together. Now, remember, I was younger, right? So, of course, a TV makes everything look like it's beautiful. Brady Bunch. Oh, my God, it's amazing, right? And the reason we connect to these shows is because in our head, that's what we want. But the true reality is nobody's living a Brady Bunch life. Well, actually, they are, but the real story behind the Brady Bunch, right? So when the 30-something, when that came on, I was married to my first husband, Gene, at the time. And I just, I wasn't good with myself. So I definitely wasn't going to be good with anybody else. I had Bugsy. He was like almost 5 at that time. And I really didn't have it together. Definitely didn't. It felt heavy. And as I was turning 30, I thought, oh my God, I am a massive failure. Those people on 30-something, not just the people on 30-something, but people around me. This is why I say comparing yourself is going to be a nail in the coffin for you. Not a literal coffin, but I mean, it's just, you're not going to get anything positive out of it. Because again, you see the story, the glory. You don't see the story behind what's going on. You don't know what they're dealing with. And just because they have this beautiful house and this family does not mean that they have self-love. They could have $800 gajillion in the bank. Does not matter. If you're not good with yourself, you can just have nicer things. And here's another thing about that. And God knows I have been there, and I'm sure a lot of you have been there and maybe still are. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm an Amazon girl. But think about the times when you're just like, oh my God, I feel so bad. I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to shop. I'm going to go online and I'm going to shop, or I'm going to go buy something. Or, sometimes you're impulse buying because you're trying to get that dopamine hit. Keep in mind, when you're doing shopping, when you're buying, that's dopamine. That's a dopamine hit, which is why sometimes you ever get something brand new. Let's say you buy a car. Like, oh my God, I love this car. And then it's like a week later, you're like, I like my car. But you're like, oh, okay, well, let's see, what else can I get? I should go get something else. And then that's how you start buying like unnecessary things. Honestly, yes, I still do it. Much, much less than before. But yes, I do still do it. And there's a part of that that does bring me joy. But the difference is if you're shopping to bring you joy, but not to run from something or feel something, that's okay. And just, in my brain, I've said this to you guys before, in my brain, if you go on my Pinterest board, I look like, oh my God, I am probably the most meticulous, organized chef on the planet. The reality is that's my goal, and that's why these micro goals come into play. But the reality too is that I don't want a specifically meticulous house. I want to feel like my house is lived in, right? But those all go into the depression phase. Those all go into something that you're missing. And sometimes it's so bad, and those days get so dark that you couldn't even lift up the phone to order something on Amazon. And that's where this is going to be a challenge. That's where you say, I just got to get up and go stand by the window. That's fine if you're only there for a few minutes. But remember, you stood up. And again, it's not that you don't want to be on the planet. It's that you just want to feel or not feel. And I say feel because sometimes you don't. You're so overwhelmed. But that's where you're going to have to step back, be patient. I'm seriously going to do an entire podcast on patience. You got to be patient. And remember, just because things are happening for you, they may not be happening fast enough for you. They may not be happening the way you want them to happen. Doesn't matter. But when you're feeling some kind of way, like nobody loves you and all of that things, again, it can be a chemical imbalance. So by the way, you definitely want to talk to your doctor, get screened for depression, anxieties, anything like that. You're going to need to get screened for that because that is an actual clinical diagnosis. To some level, every human being, everybody listening to this has had down days, anxious days, but you're not like clinical in either one of those positions. Okay. And so, but I say that to you because here's the thing. Medicine is, and I'm a holistic prescriber, but medicine is very effective in my opinion. Okay. Like for me, I've taken holistic things. I love it. I still utilize it, but I still take my Zoloft. Okay. And I say that to you because if there's a chemical imbalance, sometimes natural things aren't going to work. Don't be afraid of it. Stay off Google. But it's not just the medicine. The medicine doesn't fix it. You don't just take the pills and 6 weeks later, you're like, oh my God, I feel so much better. What it does, however, is it starts to balance you out a little bit to where you can kind of weed through the stuff. You can kind of go through the chaos that you're feeling. And that's why I've said to you, because again, I've been in that space well more than one time. Good Lord, one time. And in that time, it's where it just seems hopeless. It seems lonely. It seems hopeless. All again, can be chemical. But the flip side of that, from a cognitive perspective, that's where you can't get stuck in that loop of why is this happening to me? Why did this happen? If this didn't happen, if such and such didn't happen, I might not be this way. Okay, yeah, that's not fair. Because again, it's like me saying, I'm going to play yesterday's lottery numbers today with the knowledge I have that was the numbers last night. Like it just doesn't make sense because you're comparing yourself and you're comparing your situation to a space of if this wouldn't have happened, this is where I would be today. And I played that game in my head for a long time after Mom died. And I went through all of that craziness with my dad and other people around. I held on and I glorified and Cinderellaed, oh my God, if my mom would have just been healthy and alive, my life would be different. I mean, sure. Does that mean it'd been better? I mean, in my brain at that time, I really Cinderella'd it. Oh my God, this would have been great. And if only she was here now. And all normal, but it becomes problematic when you're trying to change that narrative. Or you're trying to predict the narrative going forward in the darkness you're in. Like, oh my God, this sucks. I'm never going to get out of this. I told you, no black and white thinking. No always and no never. You cannot go through a cycle of constantly saying always and never. This always happens to me. This never is going to happen to me. Because that's all or nothing thinking. There's a podcast on that. And you do have to be very careful of that because at the end of the day, your brain is going to believe what you tell it. You know, there's a saying, if you believe you cannot, you are correct. If you believe you can, you are correct. And see, that's the thing, because a lot of us have, well, all of us have some form of trauma. Traumas have happened. And then what happens is that becomes our default, right? And then especially if you had people who weren't dealing with their stuff, which like most of us. And so we became part of the pattern that was created by them or somebody before them that's just toxic. And then we say, oh my God, we really don't want to be in this cycle. We want to break the cycle. Yeah, valid. I hear you. But the reality is talking about it and worrying about if you're not going to break the cycle does not help you in the least bit. Not even a smidge. But see, here's the thing. This is what it goes down to. Always remember this. We are just spiritual beings having a human experience. And yes, we are human, which means we have bills to pay. We have things we got to do. We're going to have love. We're going to have hurt. We're going to have, all those things are valid. But I don't want you to get caught up in the space of looking for any of those things to fill you. Because when you look for external sources to fill your inner voids, it's never going to be enough. You know, that's kind of that question, you know, that I'm always asking myself and other people, what is enough for you? And if you don't know what that is, before you start getting in your head about the whys and what ifs and all of these things, you must at least establish what is enough for you. Not what can somebody bring to the table for you, like that's part of it, but it's what is enough for you. What makes you feel that you're enough? And don't define that based on dollar sign, relationship status, the size of the house you have, your car, your family. All great things. I love it. But if you're constantly chasing something, you're going to remain on that pattern. You will remain chasing things. You will keep chasing and you will keep chasing and you will keep chasing. And nothing will ever be good enough. And then you will stay in that dark space of, oh my God, this is so hard on me. Valid. Feel your feelings. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what it is that you feel is enough for you. And that, for me, I went on a 5-mile walk today because where I live, it was actually like 61. I seriously had to unzip my jacket. I had like a zip up hoodie. And I took that off and wrapped it around my waist. I was like borderline hot. It wasn't hot, but it was when you're walking. But tomorrow we're supposed to get 1 to 3 inches of snow because that's how the weather works. And, you know, it's imperative that you do something to move your body. Just move your body. The amount of free, glorious things that you have at your fingertips to help you in those dark places is amazing. Going for a walk. Sitting outside. Let's say physically you can't walk. Sit outside in the sun. Read a book. Crochet. You know I crochet. Wash dishes. Washing dishes, not putting them in the dishwasher. I mean, I definitely use my dishwasher. But there's a lot of dishes that I also don't put in there. And let your hands feel the soap. Let your hands feel it. That's called active meditation. Journaling. As Muhammad mentioned in there, he thought, like most of us do, I definitely did in the beginning, and I'm sure some of you too. You're like, oh my God, this is bullshit. What's with this journaling thing? It gives you a space to validate yourself. It gives you a space to feel your feelings. Don't judge them. Don't be like, oh my God, that's crazy. Why would I think that way? Stop it. And like he said, the gratitude journal is the most important one to him. And I'll tell you why that is. Because if you're not starting your day with 10 minutes of gratitude, you're always going to be looking at, I'm not good enough. This isn't enough for me. What am I doing? And don't think that gratitude has to be like, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful. Yes, absolutely. Good. But That's awesome. But also think micro. Think about the things how many of us take for granted. The sunshine, the sky, clouds, dirt, trees, apples, the sound of running water. And if that all sounds silly to you, that's where you need to pause. And you need to check yourself on that and realize that everything that you have is where you have to focus. Because if all of us, myself included, sits there and talks about, we need to do this. This isn't happening. This isn't happening fast enough. Why isn't this done? I mean, I was hoping my book would have been out by now, but no, it was pushed back a little bit because I wasn't quite done with it. Okay, well, I'm grateful that I had that time because I actually wanted to change and add a few more things in there. So I'm grateful for that. And you have to look at a situation, good, bad, and different, and find where that is that can be a learning tool for you, that can make you more aware of things, that can have you reestablish your boundaries for yourself. We should always be growing. But always with growing comes integration. So remember, there's a pattern. Educate yourself, and not just educate like with books, like doing things consistently too, right? Like you got to be consistent. That's the next one, which is integrate. So it's educate, integrate, celebrate, repeat. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Educate, integrate, celebrate, repeat. And I say that because you have to know what you're doing first, right? Like you don't just get on a bike and go, got this. No, you're going to fall. You're going to do all that stuff. And then you have to integrate it, which means you're going to have to do it consistently. You have to keep doing it. You're going to keep falling off. Then you're going to fall off less. Why? Because you didn't just learn how to ride the bike one time and go, oh, got it. And then you celebrate it. You find joy in riding your bike now. Now it's not just about, look, I can ride a bike. It's about getting out there and feeling it. You're celebrating it. And then what's the next thing? I don't know. Educate yourself on something else. And the biggest thing is because sometimes you go, oh my God, I don't know where to start. Okay, that's why you get to research it. You get to sit in it. Don't make it look like a chore. And that's another thing with the journaling. Do not make the journal a chore. Like, oh my God, I got to do this for time. No, you get to do it. Because my goodness, there's so much to be thankful for and grateful for. And then you start the rest of your day. And the reason that the other journals are important is because they each are there for you. These journals aren't for anybody else. I mean, ultimately, everybody will feel better because you'll start getting balance, but they're not for anybody else. And if you go, God, 5 is such overkill. So is all this stuff going through your head right now. You decide your heart. I've told you this. If you want to stay in your overthinking brain and you just don't feel like doing all of these journals because, oh my God, it takes time out of your day. Okay. I ain't going to force you to do anything. But I will tell you this. Lack of consistency brings lack of good results or consistent results. So you have that. And when you say, oh my God, it's just so much, you're literally telling yourself, I just don't deserve to have this time for myself. That's literally what that is. Because just like Muhammad said, and I stand by this, motivation's bullshit. That's an excuse we say, okay, I'm motivated to do this on Monday. What the hell? Or I'm motivated to do this. Great. All it is a little burst of energy. But sometimes you have to create that motivation. Even in those dark times of finding what your purpose is. Dark and light times of finding your purpose. You don't have one purpose, babes. You have several purposes. And your purpose in your 20s might be different than your purpose in your 60s. Don't make it so black and white. Because when you're doing that, that's how it becomes overwhelming. And then it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just easier if I just don't deal with this and I'm not going to be here anymore. So I say that to you because I'm going to tell you this. I'm happy you're on the planet. I'm happy you're listening to this podcast. I'm happy Muhammad sent me that from all the way across the world. I'm appreciative of that. I am grateful for that. I'm grateful. I'm in my closet because I just am today. And I'm looking, and I've been busy the last couple of days. I'm looking, and there's a bunch of laundry. Some is in my laundry basket, and most of it's on the floor right now because it's an overflow. And instead of going, oh my God, I have so much laundry to do tomorrow, I'm just grateful that I have clothes. Okay? I'm not asking you to be Mary Poppins and skipping through the tulips. But what I am saying is the things that you're putting so much pressure on yourself about that sometimes makes you not want to be here, I want you to put that into perspective. Perspective is everything. And sometimes, like I said, when we're in the middle of something that's like heavy and hard, it's really hard to see past that. I hear you. I validate it. It's not the first time nor the last time I'm going to go through that. And so I tell you this because you're not supposed to have just some like idea that you're never supposed to feel sad. That's not realistic. But what are you going to do with it? Sometimes you just got to let yourself feel sad. Go get a pint of ice cream. Go get some whatever. Eat some chocolate and watch television. I mean, don't do that every day. But absolutely, give yourself grace. And at the end of the day, remember this. All of the things that seem so big right now and so heavy for you, they're not going to matter in 5 years. So ask yourself this. What am I waiting for to celebrate me?
Check it out.